Hello, my name is Sabrina Inouye. My film is about a regular civilian. Everyone that knows him sees him as a nice, respectable member of society. Once the film progresses, we swiftly realize that he is a killer that captures young girls and eventually murders them. There were some elements we placed into the film to hint at the idea that he was not who he seemed, such as some thrilling music to set the mood of the whole scene. Along with the music, the drastic change of going from a bright daylight scene to an eerie home with little light foreshadows that he has a dark personality that he doesn't show to the public. Once these two elements are enacted as a hint to the audience, the main character, Relic, begins to walk towards his kitchen for a cup of water, when suddenly the audience is exposed to an unconscious girl on the floor, tied up with bruises and covered in blood. This was revealed to the audience all of a sudden, allowing confusion to fill their minds. Relic simply continues to stroll around the house as if there wasn't half the girl in his living room. Another little implication that Relic isn't who he says he is, demonstrated through him grabbing the kitchen knife with absolutely no purpose and setting it down. Then the main character proceeds to turning on the television, and the audience uncovers a news report mentioning missing girls. This is when the audience should be able to make the connection that Relic isn't the average man. The news report playing in the background wakes up the girl from her unconscious state. As she is still regaining sensibility, Relic is in his restroom when suddenly a flip goes off in his head, and abruptly he is a completely different person. The kidnapped girl is finally awake and begins screaming for her life. Relic is infuriated at her attempt to be saved and aggressively drags her towards the kitchen floor. This assures the audience that he is the antagonist. The end to the introduction is Relic grabbing the nearest knife and repeatedly stabbing the girl, but then a phone call, which brings him back to his normal self, distracts him. As soon as the call ends, he goes back to his previous position and stabs the girl one last time, finishing her off. Our film represents social issues by depicting a psychopath that can be civilized when surrounded by familiar faces, but as soon as he is left alone with his own thoughts, he turns into a killer. No one expects this from their friendly neighbor or coworker. This film demonstrates how a psychopath can alter your perspective of them. This is a fairly common situation in the real world. People with this mental disability can easily lie to you and make you believe something far-fetched. We aim to gather people from the ages of 13 to 40, so essentially teenagers and adults. For the most part, this is the age range that is interested in thrillers. The film as a whole doesn't involve dialogue often, so the communication between the film and the audience has to be set with the use of music, actions, and mise-en-scène. The extended periods of time where there was radio silence within the scene led the way for the large impact the screech of the captured girl left on the audience. A very nonchalant mood throughout the beginning, disturbed by a tortured scream, is perfect for the reaction we want to receive from our audience. Examples of how the music triggers the mood would be how the background song we chose by Kid Cudi, called Releaser, has a very eerie sound to it. The song itself is about a man who is struggling internally with himself, going through a love-hate relationship with how he is when under the influence of drugs. Relic has a similar case due to the fact that he is an average guy but is randomly triggered, which led him to have an internal struggle of being a killer or a common civilian. Examples of mise-en-scène would be the girl tied up with rope, her body covered in bruises and blood, the digital clock flickering along with the television, which was due to the shutter speed of the camera. A complex aspect within mise-en-scène arose when we had to alter the lighting of the scenes. Normally, in the average suspense movie, the illumination of the scenes are very dark with minimal sunlight. Our film displayed a bright, sunshiny day in the very beginning. Once he entered the house, the lighting darkened, but not by much. The lack of contrast is to fool the audience into believing he is not the criminal in this film. The action displayed within the 2-minute introduction will rapidly capture the audience's attention into wanting to see how the whole film plays out. If I were to distribute this film as a real media text, I would choose Ghost House Pictures as my distributor, due to the style of movies it has released in the past. A very popular movie distributed by this company that to a certain extent is similar to ours would be Don't Breathe, which is forced to have no dialogue for half the movie. Just like my film, Don't Breathe needs to communicate with the audience with mise-en-scène, actions, and music. Our film will gradually gain popularity through the advertisements on television as well as on YouTube. Once it has been removed from theaters, it will go on to being displayed through Hulu and Netflix. This film project has allowed my production skills to flourish, working with a group of people to determine the best route to take when making decisions about what certain characters should say and how it should be said, what angles would be the best for specific spots, how to edit certain aspects, and much more allowed my knowledge to expand. As one of the actors within the film, the kidnapped girl, I observed the process from afar and made comments as we went along. After a couple of scenes, we would all gather around a laptop and watch what we had just recorded. Through this process, we all made sure to voice our opinions to make sure we got a perfect final product. When we all gathered to review the script, I learned how a script should be written and the elements within it. While filming, we all helped each other figure out the methods we should take in recording the film and editing it. I became familiar with some terms like one-shot, Foley, and ghost cut, and how exactly they are implemented into the film. Technologies that were carried out in our production contain applications like Final Cut Pro, which assisted us in editing the film. The Foley of the non-diegetic music in the background, sound of the phone when it rings, and the door closing. Equipment we used was a microphone, digital audio recorder, gimbal stabilizer, video camera Sony A7S, a laptop, and an external hard drive.